Namaskar, good morning, good day, salam alaikum to everybody in this country and all over the world, and Eid al-Mubarak to Gulf countries and all countries where Eid is being celebrated. Moon is not seen in Bharat today, so tomorrow will be Eid. So Eid Mubarak to all citizens of world. This is May 24th, 2020, as usual. As usual, day, and we live in in control of COVID-19, unknown force. Unknown force should not be called should not be called as we call it because work of nature. If nature, if nature, if nature wants it, it has to do it. No one can stop it. So this is your friend on Facebook with you again for disturbing you, wasting your time in talks of nothing, and just unpleasing you or sleep. I know you are sleeping. Good to sleep. Very good. Sleep is best work, right? Best work. Well, sometime I should talk like that to relax everybody. Time moves, world moves, everything moves. It doesn't come back. Time becomes history next moment. As another next moment, previous moment becomes history. Nobody can control this. That is on this planet. So we are not capable to catch time which has gone. We can only remember. We can only say, oh, this is history now, and this is present now, and we are expecting future. Everybody expects future in dreams. Oh, future shall be like that. Nothing wrong in that, nothing wrong. We should expect that because future is future. Future has to give someone something which may be pleasing or unpleasing. Something has to come. As we used to read one poem in our times, it was time, rise, rise for days passing, rise for time is passing. खड़े हो जाओ टाइम जा रहा है दिन जा रहा है सो रहे हो तुम खड़े हो जाओ दिन जा रहा है हम समझते नहीं थे I could not understand that time what did that mean but now I understand what does it mean time is going time is going time is going and you are sleeping you are sleeping you are sleeping 31 degrees Celsius now. 31 degrees Celsius now at 3:30 a.m. of 24th May 2020 and projection of day is 45 degrees Celsius in Faridabad. Good temperature. Now I'm talking to you is 31 degrees. In sometimes in winter it's not 31 during daytime, but now it's 31 degrees Celsius. I don't know how can you sleep in that heat. Either the air conditioner is on, your good fan is on, something is on, you are sleeping. No problem, sleep. Sleep is best work. If you sleep, it's best work because you are not to pay anything to anybody. You are relaxing because you worked hard in daytime, so sleep, no problem. COVID 19, now I think public of world has started thinking that leave it behind. World public has started thinking leave it behind, don't worry about this. It is positive, a positive development, yet it's negative also because we are not caring about this. There's been many disputes, even whether to leave people outside or let them go to schools, allow them some normalcy here and there, and there are differences of opinion developing everywhere because I understand world is in confusion, world is in degree of no decision because of unknown, because of no justification of what we talk. There was a time when there was competition on lockdown, who is locking down, who is not locking down, some competition, and this company is moved for a few weeks, and some countries down, some countries not down. This means a kind of inconclusive stage where you cannot decide something on your own. Means you have to stay somewhere or leave it behind. We'll see. Means it's nothing. I said no. It's very means different theories and different conceptions, and actually nothing is proven till now. Nothing is proven till now. First time in history of world, it is something that hasn't proven whether or not this tells us something. So we have to either be ready to die or leave it behind. That's what they say. We'll see what happens. What shall happen? There are only two possibilities: either it's nothing or it is everything. No third possibility. But we should not forget that. We should not forget that God does its work without any 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 input from humanity. It doesn't listen to anyone. It works and works and works. It doesn't listen to anyone. It has to do something, it does it. It doesn't ask you, it doesn't ask me, or doesn't ask someone else. Whatever it has to do, it would do. You may become your way, you may decide anything, but that power least bothers about you. Because that power is above all powers, and you are very little in comparison to might of that power. That power is working whatever is work. If it has to kill a number of people, it has decided it shall kill. If it's not decided, it shall not kill. Nature and God are still unknown. Nature is seen but not known. That's another point. We see nature, we see all planets, we see mountains, we see grounds, we see everything. We have seen, we experience, but we do not know them thoroughly. And that is beauty of transmission of knowledge from God to human. The human has not even understood till now what is God, how we can see God. Religions are non-existent entities; they are imaginary. So I would not consider that any entity in my consideration. Disease or no disease, pandemics or no pandemics, we have to live, even if it's there or not there. In both cases, you have to live. What shall you do otherwise? You may stay in room or you may stay out of room. It doesn't make a difference as far as this is a power. Means if it wants to you, it can come to you. You can't stop it. We may say, oh, you are inside room. chain is broken, it shall not come. I think that is our childish thought. Childish thought. We should we should respect this power because we do not know it. And so sometimes what happens if you respect someone, that person can be mild, or possibly that power may be mild. Oh, these people are not speaking against me, so I should be little kind towards them. Maybe that power thinks, but still we are showing our pride. We are showing we will do this, we will make this vaccine, make that vaccine. I not heard anybody till now saying, "Oh, Corona, please don't destroy us. Don't destroy us, please. Corona, we respect you. Please don't destroy us. Go from where you came." Nobody is saying that. So prideful we are. So prideful we are. We can defeat it without knowing what it is. So that is, I think, our weakness, human weakness. Human thinks that it is about God, about nature. That's not possible. This is wrong thinking. We should say, Corona, we do not know you, and if we do not know you, why you are harming us? We should ask it. If we have done some bad for you, if you do something bad for someone whom you are who have come here to punish us for what, please do not punish us. We shall do what you want to say. We shall do what you like to do. Please forgive us. I have not seen a single person in the world thinking like that. Why, after all? How you say that it is your enemy, and how you think it cannot be a friend? What you want to defeat it when you know it or don't know it? If you know it, what it is, there's a power you can defeat it. But you do not know it, and you want to defeat it for what purpose? How can you defeat it? Whom you are going to defeat when you don't know someone? That's my contemplation. Something has closed everything. It's because of this power that has closed whole world. And still those who are opening, they are not sure whether they are opening it for good or for bad. And why it was closed before? Before some imagination that there can be a chain, we want to break chain. I not seen any chain. There's no chain. Did you see that chain? Did you feel it? I think no. Sometimes we only know something about someone, not everything about that one. This corona is very smart. I should appreciate that. This corona is very smart in a sense. It has destroyed minds of people throughout the world. It's destroyed their argument power. It's destroyed their recognition power. It has brought human to a level where human doesn't know he was here. Those countries used to be very intelligent, very scientific. Those countries have been brought down to ground. So how can you say that you know even 1% of this? Yes, you know about virus, but you do not know corona. Whether or not it's a virus, that's a question mark. Because the evidence and all, they say virus, virus, virus. And there should be treatment, treatment, treatment. Nothing so far. Nothing so far. So what happens when you are not able to find certain answers from your activities, your work, or from your scientific mind? Then we leave it to God and say, okay, God shall take care of this. Yes, God shall take care of it. It's already taken care of. He shall take care of yours, He shall take care of everyone, and He shall take care of that power also which He has sent to you, whom you want to fight with. How we know that this is devil power or this is good power or what it is, I do not know. But one thing is for sure that this has that much power where what is changed. It has changed world. It has changed world. It has changed thinking. It has changed lifestyle. It has changed everything that we could not change, we cannot think over. There's a time now that we can change our eating habits. We shall change our living habits. We shall change every habit. Time has come. So live normally after changes and taking due precautions. You cannot get rid of corona in 2 months or 3 months or 1 year or 2 years. This is your colleague for many years to come. Think like that and don't say we will defeat it or we'll kill it because we cannot do that. Now I'll not talk much about this because there's nothing left. And now news are coming in about removal of lockdown, return on normalcy. One thing is certain that whole world is concerned now, not about corona results, but about resuming their economies, resuming their normalcy. That has become point of competition now. If you think this week or last week or coming time, you will find that every country is, enduring to normalcy. To normalcy it was before Corona, and many countries are going to open international national flights, and many offices and all that in coming weeks. Well, it has to happen, and even if there is another attack, they won't bother. Just keep safe distances, keep cover up your faces, and change your style of living. I think not more than that shall happen, and life moves on, shall move on. अब ज्यादा बात करने से कुछ फायदा नहीं है. अब कितने होंगे, करोड़ केस होंगे, नहीं होंगे, many crores or more crores, time shall tell. But our country, Bharat, India, is moving very fast in that direction. It has crossed already 1 lakh, 1.2 lakh, already has crossed. And I am sure a day comes when probably it crosses millions or many billions. It shall certainly achieve that target because all over the world people do that. And I got some reference from someone in news that England population about half has been infected by corona, but news do not give this record. So what we do, we have to believe it. That's all. Well, कोरोना जा रहा है नहीं जा रहा है, अपना अपना ख्याल है. कुछ लगता है किसी को जा रहा है ये, कुछ लगता है किसी को गया ये, कुछ कहते हैं वापस आ रहा है, सेकंड वेव आ रही है, थर्ड वेव आ रही है. ये चलता रहेगा ऐसे ही, चलता रहेगा ऐसे ही. कोरोना जॉब गए, सब कुछ गया. बड़े बड़ी बातें करने वाले कंट्रीज कि हम ही हैं इस दुनिया में, वो धरातल पर आ गए, अपनी औकात पर आ गए. जो लोग समझते थे हम ही हैं दुनिया में, वो भी अब कहने लगे कुछ तो है. कुछ तो है. We have to live with time. Many times I suggested that don't be so serious about this. Believe in God, be honest, do not cheat each other, and have respect for each other. Do not criticize someone, and do not annoy poor. If you annoy poor, I don't think there is a greater sin than this. Only country in world at present is Bharat, India, that has done a sin towards majority people. Those are industrial workers. We have caused to them spiritual harm, physical harm, financial harm, and we have no right to seek even an apology from this community or from God. We have acted as if we are only owner of this land or this country. We have forgot that these around half of population do belong to this country. We did not keep that in mind. Had you keep that in mind, we would not have gone to this extent. These people are ours. Again and again, I would say, these people are our citizens. They are, of course, construction workers, real workers, or factory workers, or industrial workers. Everybody works somewhere. Everybody works something. So they are workers. No problem with that. But to divide them is not to provide them facilities in time. Intentionally or unintentionally, I cannot say. But this is sent by government. This is sin committed by TV channels. They did not inform facts. They did not relay news rightly. And all those who do not consider this even is a problem because their pockets are full. They don't worry about others. Well, time shall tell what happens. What shall we do? How shall country move? Time shall tell. But remember, nothing stops. Life keeps on moving. It shall keep on moving. And maybe one day you see that I am gone or someone has gone. It shall happen. जिंदगी है चलती रहती है आप कोरोना माने ना माने है कि नहीं है आप समझे या ना समझे जिंदगी रुकने वाली तो नहीं है चलती जाएगी और चलती रहनी भी चाहिए क्योंकि जिंदगी है तो बच्चों का खेल तो है नहीं मेरी जिंदगी है आपकी जिंदगी है चलेगी तो चलेगी चलनी चाहिए अवश्य चलनी चाहिए अब ज़्यादा रोने धोने से तो कुछ होने वाला नहीं है जो होगा सबके साथ होगा दुनिया में फैला है जो प्रॉब्लम तो दुनिया से ही जाएगी जब जाएगी इसलिए अब उसके बारे में सोचने का फायदा नहीं है कितना कुछ लिखा जा चुका है फेसबुक पे कितना बोला जा चुका है दैट डजंट मीन एनीथिंग नाउ one point is very certain that this impact has been abused by all nations against democracy. This has been used as a weapon against democracy. This has been used by police as a weapon against people. This has been used by governments against its people. So that point is really dangerous one from viewpoint of democratic nations. I didn't find any success in lockdown as was expected. No success at all. But calm down and sit down and do your work. Don't do it corner. This is philosophy going on, and this shall go on like this. अब now चलते हैं अपने अपने काम पे मैनेजमेंट के काम पे what is management, what is quality, what is quantity. First of all, let us see what is actually management. What is management? And what it depends upon. Management is some imagination or it's real. This point समझना चाहिए होना चाहिए आपको खाली कह देने से कि मैनेजमेंट है क्या वाकई में मैनेजमेंट है क्वेश्चन उठना चाहिए किसको मैनेज कर रहे हैं ख्यालों में किसके लिए मैनेज कर रहे हैं वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट मैनेजमेंट क्या है आप कहेंगे प्रबंधन है मान लेते हैं प्रबंधन है किस चीज का प्रबंधन है एक सोच का प्रबंधन है या कुछ रियलिटी है एक कविता है कहानी है उनको लिखनी है याद करनी है सुनानी है वो मैनेजमेंट है management and quantities do you think relation between them what we do in management, whatever work we do, whatever work, it's quantified. Its volume is known, its quantity is known in certain units, in certain measurable units. And that quantity tells us what management is about. Otherwise, we can't understand what's management. Quantity is important. Quantity of product we have to do, or quantity of something else we have to use for that. It is directly linked to quantum of work, and quantum of work is quantity of work. If quantity of one item or quantity of thousands items, it's quantity ultimately that delivers a project. Some items are involved, quantities of those items are involved, and doing that items, quantifying and delivering those items by after activity or after manufacture or after whatever say processing, those items are delivered, and that delivery is called management of project. Overall, if you see, without quantification, there can be no management. What actually happens, say, suppose I want to do some project. I am asked to do this project, execution of this project, and these are documents you have to tender or do something or to work out. What my first approach should be? Should I see those thick volumes of this related data of project and worry about the this is too much, so many volumes, and I have to study them, understand them. So it's a lot of time it should take. So what generally you do? What generally you do? It depends upon what type of work it is. But what we understand, what do we understand is that suppose it's a project related to RCC. I find that this is a project related to RCC, reinforced cement concrete or concrete. That is a dominant factor in this project. Other factors are not that dominant. So what my approach remains that I try to see a limit or extent to which I have to do that work. So I if I have BOQ by chance do that. Or if I don't have, I try to get some instantly momentary BOQ just to see element of RCC. And once I know this is quantity of RCC in this project, I can guess what is this amount, how much it should be, how much time should it take, and if time is already fixed, how much, what extent manpower you want, machine you want to finish this project in time. That is basics one, just to have an idea. I don't go into details, just to say, oh, there is 10,000 cubic meter RCC in this project. If you just think that way, leaving aside, grid slab or some other external items which we have. That quantification certainly guides every person, every area to devise and do that in preliminary stage. So let us say 10,000 cubic meter I have, so I can understand 10,000 cubic meter or 100,000 cubic meter, whatever it is means, it's that type of project. If it's only building project, this is many buildings and certainly big buildings, or if it's not building project, something else, then that much easier to identify, to work out that. It happened with me in one tender that I was given some document by someone, and it was pipeline project. So I just wanted to an idea that this quantity which that company has put in BOQ, is it worth or is just a child play? I was surprised with quantity of concrete given in that. Well, it was many lakhs, around 4 lakhs cubic meter. I stopped at that point because so when I asked myself, after all, this quantity which is more than 400,000 cubic meters by basis, pipeline basis. And I just try to see is what's length of pipeline, what's width of that basis, and it's saying 400,000. But when I just took complete length and the uniform width of that pads of pump or pipes with some given thickness, I didn't find even half of that quantity which was included in BOQ is required. I was doubtful. I did not accept that quantity in any manner because some error existed there. I asked I asked my manager or my senior that I don't understand this quantity. We need a clarification. He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm not talking, I'm telling you. I doubt it, I don't agree with this." They are say this is South Korea company, whoever they are. I least worry about that. I claim that I heavily claim that this estimated quantity is not right. That person was not impressed, but because I was experienced, that person raised this question to that company that we do not agree with this much quantity. Well, you must have an answer if you get some kind of problem. There was no answer from that company. Then I was not clear about the answer also. Whether this question was sent to them or not sent to them, I was not sure. Then after 1 or 2 days, we got another mail from them with the title Revised Documents. So we got revised documents, and in that I saw this quantity was brought down to 35%. I think 30 to 35% rather. They did not answer specifically to our question, but whole documents, BOQ was revised. BOQ is a document of quantities also. So they revised this. So just imagine, had we used that quantity, what would be our contract value? Would that be a laughing stock of contracts of that company who wanted us to use job? Because you can't even know quantity. And you are taking 2 times or 2.5 times that actually required. I'm just giving an example of that. Mistakes happen, it will happen. I agree, mistakes are there. They happen. I also make mistakes. But point is not that. Mistake should also be within limits. Within limits. Yes, we all use computers, software. Everybody uses these days. But you cannot use it blindly. How can you use computer blindly? And you believe in computer not in the sense. If by chance computer is given wrong information, it has worked out wrong information because your feed in was not accurate. You will trust that. So it's computer, but particular system is telling that. Yes, system is telling that. But system can also be wrong. Or system's feed input can also be wrong. Or maybe you did not read correctly while feeding your dimensions. Anything is possible. Sometimes you have to give examples to justify what you're saying is right or it's not right. So that I give you. And this I'm not no, I'm not fabricated this. This is a fact one. This is fact one and it's not one time here, many other times it happened. So there's no meaning to refer to every case. Only is that quantity works very highly, it's very important and should be given carefully, both at tender stage or field stage as well as work stage. Because work is also very important. Yes, ready with concrete you can order from time to time. Even if your quantity is wrong, you will not use that quantity by ordering one go. You have to book order whenever your concrete is ready to pour, small quantity or big quantity, it doesn't matter. But question arises when you have to place orders for finishing items, which are very expensive, like tiling, wall tiling, floor tiling, or other materials that you have to export. I'm sorry, you have to import from other countries because these items cannot be ordered separately. You have to order this in one go for that project. So if you order in excess of requirement, it has to go waste, can't be used somewhere else. Or if you order short of requirement and you can't complete project and you have to place order again, or you have to airlift that material, which is another solution. And airlift is very expensive. See, just wet, airlift is very expensive. So you have to, and let us cloth wash it out. Cloth here. Sweating, sorry. So you have to airlift that, and airlift is very expensive. So you are also defeated there. What I'm suggesting is I'm talking of quantity because quantity is very important everywhere. And as an engineer, you do something, you must have an idea. Whatever result you are getting is worth or not. Just for guidance. I don't say that you just check every time, but once some check is required. So what I want to say, management is not but control of quantity and quality, and planning and safety and procurement and supervision and all that is management. So far we talked. In system, of course, this is system. Quantity engineering, it's called, or some people call it quantity surveying. It's one and same thing. Quantity survey engineering, you can call it. Quantity engineering, you can call it. Of course, its formula is not very complicated. Few formulas work there only. Area formula, volume formula, surface formula. These types of plus minus formula, linear meter formula, volumetric formula, cube root formula, such formula work there. And if there's no such quantity for something, then simply written insurance side what is fact. And this also applies to not only finished items, it applies to steel item, steel reinforcement, which is also an expensive item. But there can be checked because it's not placed in one go. It takes time to place it. Quantity is very boring job, you know. Quantity means if you want to quantify something, you require drawings of that, complete drawing set of that superstructure as well as foundations and also intelligent works. Intelligent activities you need there. Sometimes you may be busy for a few days to quantify and quantify. But once you use your sense, your formula of power in your sheet, you can bring that there and find the answer. So once you understand value of quantity, then you will never do assessment. Because sometimes if you know quantity is very little shown here in drawing, but you don't understand specification. The specification may be free. You use according to that required there and there. So my suggestion to everybody is do not depend upon bill of quantity issued to you during tender time or even other times. Yes, it is for reference. It is for purpose that is items are told that these are items. Possible quantities are told and the columns left for purpose of its annexion. I'll little change my direction towards management because everybody cannot tell you and someone else from other profession cannot tell you what you are, what you do. Because those people do not know my profession. They may be in their profession, okay, fine. But in real profession, the really or really in charge. No, management has to be treated differently. We start with quantity management. Quantity understanding means you understand item, and item understanding means you understand project. Because this is one item, and many items are linked to this item. It's cumbersome, I know. It's very cumbersome quantification that you cannot move away after you start this. Because until you are immersed in that, you are immersed on that page where either quantity is given or its root is given. Understand? Quantity gives you actually budget. Quantity gives you scope. Quantity tells you where you stand, what you have to do, And generally, what I do, just as a formula, I consider major work on that project immediately. This is maximum element we are going to put in, and that is this item or this work. And then we'll try to see scope of that work. But this is say activity wise, 80% or 60% job of this project. So I know some information that this work is, let us say, 60% or 50% or whatever. This is going to decide your time for completion and many other related objects which are going in during whole day. RCC is generally used everywhere and it's dominating material. Of course, it's different classes of RCCs, different grades of RCCs, but RCC, as name indicates, is RCC. When RCC, this is called reinforcement. R stands for reinforcement. You know what is provided, everybody knows this. I'm not going to technical answer of that because this is not technical session. Quantity, when I know, I think that quantity, I suppose it is right before working out all, just to manage my histogram of that work on activity. If you say that this project is going to be 1 lakh cubic meter RCC in structure, I'm talking RCC in structure, not in roads and not in pavements, in structure, building structure or similar complicated structure. And we have, this is time for this work to be passed. Let us say 2 years project or 3 years project. And you see you have only 2 years time or 1.5 years time for this item. We can assess in that required time of 1.5 or 1.2 of contract time. That is critical basis for me to devise deployment of human resources on that. So I will say this is my actual time which I want to give to this item because this is my ruling item for me, not for everybody. I can measure other items in relation to these items. And I know where I can start this item and whether I fix the item. Because those points start and complete, I have to decide, not somebody else. And I decide this in 1.5 year, which I'm going to do this RCS item. Yes, about half. This half time of contract I have to busy on. I have to busy on this item and of course related items, pre pre application of items and during programming. What is a parallel or series? This if I got 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, think so please. 8 to 9 hours a day. No, I have decided half time to do, and I want to keep that fixed crew for that. This means per month. How many meter RCs we have to do? I said total quantity is 100. So how many months I give it is 50% time. So project is say for 3 years, so 36 months. So 18 months I can use this item. 18 months I'm using this. This means in each month I want to have. There is now indication is that so I have unit of height, it's half period. We use so many carpenters for stretching work. Uniform flow. I have to use that screw only for this work. So if that is screw, then of course still fixing who I know from that. And because time period for other works have been fixed, quantification is known or can be tried on the issue. Or my approach is that I floated, I floated my unit all over half a project. This means entire project is done. Only question is adjustment or edit. I won't change crew. And other screws are related to this screw. Simple. And when I see work is not moving according to plan, so I will increase. Maybe output is limited. Will increase what? Number of crew involved on that. That's one type of common sense planning you can say. Be sure output of every nationality is different. Quality standard of every nation is different. Some may give too much output but quality lapses. Some may give very good workmanship but quality lapses. It happens. So we have to be very sure about that. This was my only purpose to explain about quantity based planning. I usually use this where I find very dominant material that is usable on that project and then continue with that. Because if RCS is not done in that project, no other item can move. So simple. RCC, then many other items have to follow on that, which can be organized very well. And that's what is normal management we do. And this is technical management. This is engineering management. This is not commercial management or business management. Where expertise is required, your experience is required, in this field is required. It's not simply that your book knowledge and say this, I can manage it. No, you can't do that. That is not possible. Good morning, Mr. Prakash. Thank you very much. Let's move forward. Now, what I actually explained to you is something practical. I'm not going to what according to what people say, but what you say best for you. Project is always free. It doesn't bind you that you use this or that method you have used. So we start planning them. You have just decided, you have just decided that I need crew for this RCC. And once you decide that crew, then you can decide crew for steel fixing and crew for masonry work, and crew for plastering work, and all other works which are going to be followed with that one by one. Duration, time, you can decide. So projects can move like that as far as planning or programming is concerned. This is just an example, and you take such examples everywhere. It's a group of one building, or there's a group of many buildings, or group of big project, mega project, whatever is that. Keep it as simple as possible. Don't complicate it too much. Complication means forgetting, memory problem. Maybe at time of doing work you remember, but after some time you forget it. It happens when a lot of work is done using same mind. Memory always comes into picture. If you can control memory, means it's no problem. So when I say quantity related management happens, this can control quality also. Because your work cannot be called work until quality relates to this is approved. So quality is approved, it's no problem. But question is question is how to keep safe. That was purpose of planning, scheming. And same plan, same program which you make for yourself. You run it according to other sheets and your friends will find all you make resources or let's say histograms for manpower or workforce and human resources you can say and the other you can say animal milking animal you need the resources for milk sharing if you don't have supply of milk or your direct supply you can take so much quantity I need every day or yes, and so much food I need every day. You can go into that detail later on, but basic philosophy is to be understood now or in past also. I try my best. Very long people. Okay, now you go further. I just told you quantity based planning. You can, in that case, verify quantity also before moving further on the quantity based criteria. It's not simply just quantity we check. We have to check quantity and sources of the material. You can work on that according to what you instructed that company to produce for you. And you can assume that quantity always yes. Alright, now we pass on to basic items, other items, which we talking yesterday about contract. My purpose is not to show you plan, but just to make you understand how it relates to management, how it relates to contract, because which are items are there. You should not leave any item without calculation. Even if it's not given in your BOQ, you have to be ensured that ensure yourself that you have taken all countries, not by know not by concealing some items or scope of work. Because even for tendering or bidding, you have to study all documents of you know spender, what you call bidding, whatever you call it, or even documents to work out price, whatever can you call it, doesn't matter. As far as it is good for you to consider every item to reach cost of your project. If you miss even a single item, it impacts on your cost. That's also true. So if you impact something, then you will have to do that out of your saving or out of profit. Then it can be called madness or let's say ignorance of the work. Remember, if you got something, don't decide. Okay, you wait for something else, and you will get this knowledge back. The knowledge is gone, but somewhere it's sitting, and so you get it back and think about. This doesn't happen usually, but even people do it and get that. Come on now, we'll find something else. If I if I say if I have complete list of quantities, list of the materials we have in every vehicle, then we can assess cost of that because cost given by pricing includes their profits, their planning, creators, but forces with you are not here. Yeah, yeah. That quantity, total quantity of each unit from beginning to end of project is considered. Once you get a list of material benefited to location, first benefit is that you know clearly what is your quantity. So this the your quantity is not even defined if you understand that. So list of metals is benefit everyone not only here. This is a kind of permanent document you have, but you need various variations as context. So let's move further on management, which is our topic actually, without which we cannot do anything. And I was involved on contracts on that. Contracts are successful only when quantities are successful. Be very frank. All conditions are okay, everything is okay, but if quantities are wrong and the contract is lump sum fixed price, then you are trapped in. Be fair, you are trapped in because you have no right to cancel contract. So they get rid of those quantities which are not existing, they are not shown anything that. Or you have to face losses. Who is going to face losses? Then you may try, okay, we have done this, the real negative, real issue negative when some also comes in. But that's not an answer. That's not a requirement you consider at that time. Contract is contract. Whether or not your quantity is right, it doesn't matter. As far as lump sum contracts, fixed price contract, lump sum fixed price. You can't change price once you agree. You cannot change anything on that if you agree. You cannot change even the specifications or drawings on whatever is there. Yes, if there is a change, there shall be an addition or deletions, addition or omissions that can be worked out. But original contract remains original. So when I was talking about FIDIC, which is basic forms of contract in construction industry. And we were talking about so many clauses in that, so many, requirements in that, which started from, started from contract and employer and so many other designations, engineer, contractor, subcontractors, and explanations about all project labor, etc. All those points which you have included on your contract and your costs accumulated to fixed price all depend on quantities you have to work. Simple. There is theory, there's no theory, there's planning, no planning, everything is they are talking about. But main is quantity. Quantity can be right, can be wrong. Both possibilities are there. But remember, it's not risk of honor, it's your risk as a contractor. If you did not study this before bidding, it's your problem, not problem, your problem. Because there's a clause that you have seen all documents, you have seen their locations where kept, and you have no control once you dominate this contract. So ultimately, your quantity is lead, your quantity is a flag. If somebody causes me wrong and does only 50% quantity or 60% quantity, you are gone. You checked. Because quantity does not value as far as contract is concerned, but work values. Work values. There's clear instruction that BOQ is only for guidance purpose, not legal document beginning. It's your duty to ensure what type of soil is there, what type of site is there, what type of access is there, what type of local materials are used. It's your job to ensure, if you're expert of that area, that you can handle that. And there is no guarantee of quantity skill written. You have to, if you want to, you make your own. Nobody stops you. You make your own BOQ and start working on that. I think you know many items because you have worked for 6 7 months or 6 7 years. It's up to you. You can then you have to be sure that quantities should neither be low nor should be high. It should be within reasonable limits acceptable. 2%, 3% variation, 5% variation maximum. More than that, it's not professional quantification. Quantification should be professional, reliable. Otherwise, whatever you expect profit shall go to losses for everybody. This point is very, very understandable. And if you can understand this point, I think you understand contract. Simple. If you understand this point, you understand contract. That's why I say contract is not very, very, very serious game. It's okay. If you are set on, sorry, like a little cold. If your quantity is right, there can be only variation on rates of items. Suppose you have taken wrong price of steel rebar, you have taken wrong price of RMC, you have taken some other price which is not actual price. So that may harm you, but it will not harm to that level. But there will be variation of up to 1 or 2%, not more than that. So you have to control these items. Sometimes what happens, there are many structures in same contract. Say 10 buildings are there or 10 structures are there in same contract, and you have to work on that. You may say it's very big. No, it's not big. Quantity is more. That's all. Project is same. Say there are 10 buildings. There's landscape external work. There may be guard houses or pump houses. So what they do, what professional requires, that you have to quantify each building separately. So there may be 10 BOQs, there will be external BOQ, or there may be one or more two BOQ, could be. There may be then preambles BOQ. So these are separate BOQs. Don't merge them professionally. Don't issue one BOQ because it causes problems. It causes major problems. Now, why it causes problem? There's a consideration. There's a an understanding of that. We have 10 buildings. We contract for that. We have landscape work, external works, or what I said, two or three more BOQs for something else. Now we quote them as fixed price for all. We quote fixed price for all these structures, buildings. But we summed up all. We at end of last BOQ, when you say our first BOQ, we brought forward all these separate BOQs to one value, that is fixed value. But independent values are also there. Based on BOQ, we have BOQ number 1, this value, BOQ number 2, this value, like that, BOQ number 10, 11, 12, this value, and sum of that is that. All are indicated on BOQ sum up. This means all are their part of BOQ. So why we need that? You ask this question. The question is genuine. Why do we need that when work is one, title is one, fee contract is one? Yes, that's right. It's one. Momentarily it is one, now it is one. When we started it is one, when signed it is one. But there is no warranty in contract that we cannot delete this item or we cannot add some item. There is no warranty in contract. It's not warranty free. It's not immune to that. Nothing can be added or deleted. It's free. Both ends are free. When there can be suspension, then there will be termination. So there can be omission as well as deletions or additions to anything. That is horrifying point. If during contract itself, employee says, I'm not interested in these two buildings, say, I don't want to do them, do others. What shall you say? Can you say no? You have to abide by, okay, I'm going to amend the, we don't agree, we don't want this to be for timing during this contract. If you will stop this building, don't stop after the building. We will tell you what to do or not to do until end of contract. Now no instruction comes in. Since those two buildings are committed. They submitted. A question arises of prices fixed. So how to adjust the price then? If both parties agree that these two buildings should not be done. What adjustment of price do that? You have way. What way is that? That is where we understand contracts. Because we have one details shown, building 1, building 2, building 3, building 4, building 5, all prices are there shown in lump sum, and this is final lump sum. So we say, okay, those two prices given against those buildings, we do not pay you now. We hold them. So currently this is final price, we omit those two prices and this is our final price. Yeah, you may claim something else that's later or not now. You cannot force that party, no, we will do this, no, this, okay, we don't know. That's purpose of separate BOQ. And that's not only for BOQs, there's some other item as well, which is not a part of BOQ, miscellaneous BOQ. And this is provisionally we measure, for example, we want to get something additional in the quantity you supply us and pay this much for you. Or you want your workers to work for us so many days. This is also quantity. We'll pay you for 1 day worker this much, 1 day other worker this much, and there's a limitation of fixes. That you will also claim. But that's not part of fixed lump sum price. This we have to understand. It's not very, it's not very delicate. They can understand that. The question is how to handle contract. Handling of contract, particularly lump sum. If it's only item rate, you don't know that in staff in general again. Oh, this item rates, and this is approximately the quantity of this, and we are going to work in this, and we multiply with this item rate. This might price to be. But there's also a limit. You cannot say up to any limit. You can go, okay, up to this we will do this and this price, and this, so there's a variation of 5 to 10% more. Than they will pay another price for that. Those are different kinds of contracts. We have item-based contracts where items are fixed, price is fixed, and there can be any number of items or any number of any quantity of items, whatever quantity. But in this case, quantity is fixed because drawing is available, specification is available, structural drawing, architecture, all are available. You can check yourself. Here, quantities are fixed and the cost is fixed. So, in case they say no, we change this drawing, you can't accept that. If they say we change this drawing, you accept same price, you can contest it. No, it's not going to work. If you're going to change this design, we do not accept this price. We need extra on that, and that is called variation. We declare that your declaration has to declare additional price or omission price. That right lies with NP or government. Because you don't want to work anymore for this job, or I'm already there, and you said don't come here for this job. How can I come for this job? So you have to readjust that. These are some examples only, not everything. I may be right, I may be wrong, depends upon your history, how you feel that. But whenever I try to understand the context, I could not even understand the contract, what it is about. But once you immerse yourself, you go to work in that forever, for many years, couple of decades, couple of years, you will find that what was talking is something else. That's completely different than what studying in university because we were a small mind that time we were kid and we could not pick up that much. We say, okay, parameter tools and passes and finish. Usually happens with all time, means you don't waste your time. You have this information, that information, you just adjust the information, get answer. So we are talking lump sum contract is a fixed price one. And that contract is very, very powerful because there's no limit on cost in this contract. It can be to billions of dollars or trillions of dollars or even with $1,000. It depends, $2,000. So where there's a big risk, you have to understand big way. And there's a little risk you have to take. It's not very serious. It's a question of few thousands only, just for the sake of our relation. Some people say, oh, you have taken this small project for the sake of our relations with that company. They want us to do so. We'll do no problem. Take it lightly and be pleased beyond that. Even if we do it free, no problem to us. That sometimes we do adjust that such how that something happens. It's a obligatory project. And sometimes people risk as such, taking obligatory projects so that they get more projects in future. Indirectly, this is supporting that department. You can say demonstration of your capabilities to that department by doing a small job. See, we can do this. We can just develop quality and just supervise also. Where we have complete works. So this is demonstration to you. So you get to call us for another project. That's what dealing is all about. And I like that. Because papers cannot speak everything that work speaks. Paper cannot speak everything that work speaks, and that's why I'm taking a little warm water now. I don't know, I'm taking water. I'm feeling thirsty every moment today, and I had it's temperature, I think, nothing else. We're speaking and speaking means extraction of energy. So what I'm concerned is to discuss with you with examples and applications of these conditions I was talking, and that's why we talk delay and that as LDs, as I explained to you yesterday, LDs and extension of time, claims, all why and how these work. Just like say a question is extension of why extension of time. It's like that when there's a fixed duration, fixed time, why unit extension of time? The question is, you should know that. Why your extension of time? Either your work is too behind or it's too advanced. There are least probabilities of work being advanced and schedule, the least possibility. But that's not impossible. But your work is far behind and you are not able to come to line of program. Certainly there is something wrong you missed. There's some step you missed, either you missed or other party missed and you do not know. But you're losing time. So if you are losing time and if you do not know, certainly you will go to losses. Why don't you know? It is your contract. You are performing this contract, you are working on that, and you should know what you're working, and you're just working without any plan means you're not a professional contractor. The time limit is there, that this is start date and this is your contract date, your completion date or physical completion date, and then you have to deliver this project to us. And if you are not even able to understand that, how shall you manage it? That's why we have to consider all contract documents together. That's why I say quantities, quality, safety, and time all have to link together. Otherwise, we shall not be in a position to do civil works, structural works. Time is important, and quality is also important, and cost is also important. If you have already filled wrong cost, then it's your loss, 100%. You did blind eyes, somebody told you fill up that and you fill that. No, that's not right. No blind eye. There's always reason for extension, for delay. Yes, there was a problem in acquiring site from client. We got wasted of time, or there was some other reason that never happened before, or we were not allowed to work, or there was some other reason. We can say war broke down or force majeure came up on this. There can be no other reason. You cannot take any excuse that because you didn't have people to work with you, or you didn't have a machine to work with you, these reasons are not acceptable. Yes, some of the reason could be acceptable, means which are not beyond your control. But this is in your control to procure material, to procure human resources, to procure. These are all you can, or you have finances or no finances, that's also an issue. So when I say there are so many reasons which require extension, and if you get extensions by chance, then you have little free mind. You have to spend 2 lakh and you say, I have 5 lakhs to spend. Can you stand? You can't stand. Yes, you can drink water at home, you can drink water in your water drinking is something else, but contract is a disease until you solve it. And moreover, nobody accepts you until you have recorded that problem. If I say drawings were not available in time, say this is my real drawings were not available in time or approvals are not in time, so you have to prove that. Approval was not delivered to you in time, or some drawings were not issued to you in time. Be mature, don't be childish. So I'm playing with my someone and I brought that book and playing and throw that book out. And then I'm saying I don't have that book. That's what is contract about. You must be master of contracts if you want to do successfully some contract. But it's not that only follower of contract you are as an employee, you are required to understand ins and outs of that contract. All ins and outs. Therefore, a thorough knowledge means a level of knowledge which can give you explanation yourself or about which you can explain to someone in writing or speech. That level of experience, maturity, one should have communication power, convincing power, and reality. All these properties should move together. That moving together is very important rather than wasting time. And once you do that, you are successful. Now, rather than talking, I'll go to what we are talking of, and that is FIDIC. I told you many times purpose of FIDIC. FIDIC, maybe I think you should know by now, but even though I'll show a glimpse of that cover just for sake of someone who sees first time what that FIDIC is all about. It's a document. It's a it's an international document. It's a contract guide. It's an international document that is used for purpose of guidance how to compose your contract, how to do that, and which is very important from certain viewpoint. It's the cover page of that conditions of contracts construction. And there are so many enclosures with this. I'm not going to show everything, but just some graphics I'll show. Time graphs, payment graphs means how certain stages are shown there of times and for graphs, which was meaning of time on this and what's the meaning of that is shown on that. Time means contract time. What is contract time? Between which and which is called contract time, between which is called this other terms that are shown on this. Where is this page? Yeah, it is coming over. So this is now typical sequence of principal events. Now, as some events, there's time events. Then there's payment events. There's another event also. And for your information, this file is available on URL. I put there URL to see the text. If you want to see, if you're interested, you can see this file there. No longer walk is there. It's available there, and you can see that. And not only this file, when the files, when the files are there, you can see them. Now, since I'm talking of FIDIC, and I was on some. Let me see where I was. Now, in this, there are certain documents shown, and that is first 21 conditions, 1 to 21. These general conditions of contract. Then there's an appendix in that. There is general conditions of dispute avoidance, and there's another one agreement. What's agreement? And there's another one DAP procedural rules and index of clauses. And in index of clauses, and what other contents are guide notes, and then part A and part B, this contract data and special provisions respectively, and how you should prepare tender documents and provisions, special provisions, clauses, etc. All given in that. Then there's so many other pages I can all even this. I'm not talking about that in this. I'm just moving to my this as I showed to you typical sequence of principal events during contracts of construction. What are actually these? You can see in first graphics that it just given it just for information's time of completion to be stated in contract data as a number of days to which is added any extension of time under subclause 8, 5, and in order to indicate sequence of events above diagram is based upon examples of contractor that is failing to comply with subclause 8 to then defects notification period is to be stated in contract data as a number of days to which is added any extension under subclause 11.3. And depending on type of works, tests after completion may end also be required now. So I'll move to that part. Before that, I'm just telling what actually we have done so far is just going to tell sketch this index page. And what does it say is actually we have gone through chapter this part 1 section 1, which is general provisions. Then we have gone through number 2, that is employer, and then number 3 engineer we have gone through. Then we have gone through 4, that's contractor, and we have also gone through 5, this is subcontracting, and 6 is staff and labor. And we have gone to 7 is plants, materials and workmanship, and 8 is commencement delays and suspension. Then 9 is test on completion. So, and 10 is employers taking over. And then defects after taking over. So we will go to now this employer and 11 defects after taking over. Then measurements and valuation and then variations and adjustments, all that is there. So we'll go to this immediately to start there at from what we are talking yesterday should be same as today. So this is ahead now. We'll go back. So this is 11, section 11, and this is 11.6. Reduce rights of access, take it over and contact to search. So I'll go through all this 11 so that if something is left, it will be covered back. Defects and after taking over. This is 11.1. Title is defects after taking over. This we are talking about yesterday, and defects after taking over. It means engineer is taken over or employer is taken over, and then we are talking of something. Taken over means we worked for that, or what contact is up to construction defects and separation with when service simple violations. Defects after taking over. Now, completion of outstanding work and remedying defects. I am going slow little this because this is contract and sometimes it's not clear. So better you restudy it to make it more clear. And that's what I'm trying to do from that viewpoint. Now it says in order that works and contractors documents works and contractor documents and each section or part. Each section or part shall be in condition required by contract. Fair wear and tear accepted. Fair wear and tear accepted by expiry date of relevant defects notification period or as soon as practicable thereafter. Contract shall. It says in order that works and contractors documents and each section and the part shall be in condition required by contract, fair wear and tear accepted by expiry date of relevant defects notification of notification period or as soon as practicable. Therefore, alright, in order that works and contractors documents and each section and or part shall be in condition required by contract, fair wear and tear accepted by expiry date of relevant defects notification period or as soon as practicable thereafter. Contract shall, what shall contract do? Contract shall Contractor shall, to say, contractor shall complete any work. Contractor shall complete Contractor shall complete any work which is outstanding on relevant date of completion within time stated in taking over certificate, or such other reasonable time as is instructed by engineer, and execute all execute all required to remedy defects or damages, of which a notice is given to contractor, or by or on behalf of employer on or before expiry date of defect notification period for works or section or part as case may be. In a defect appearance, if a defect appears, including if works fail to pass test, if works fail to pass test, if works fail to pass test, after completion, if any, or damage occurs during relevant DNP, a notice shall be given to contractor according to or according by for on behalf of on behalf of employer properly regard properly thereafter. Contractor and employer's personnel shall jointly inspect defects or damage. Contractor and employer's personnel shall jointly inspect defects or damage. Contractor shall then Contractor shall then prepare and submit a proposal for necessary remedial work, and second, third, and fourth paragraphs of subclause 75 defects and rejection shall apply. Now, cost of remedying defects is 11.2. Cost of remedying defects. All work under subparagraph B of subcontract subclause 11A is this last one. Completion of outstanding work and remedying defects shall be executed at risk and cost at risk and cost of contractor, if and to extent that the work is attributable to a design, if any, of works for which contractor is responsible, plant, material, or workmanship not being any. After that, all work under by in the subparagraph of subclause 11A, completion of outstanding work and remedying defects shall be executed at risk and cost of contractor, and if and to extend that work is attributable to design, if any, and that is of works for which content is responsible, and plant materials or workmanship. Well, plant materials or workmanship not being in accordance with contract, and improper operation or maintenance which was attributable to matters for which contractor is responsible under subclause 442, subclause 443, and various other clauses. Then D is failure by contractors to comply with any other requirements which must and there. Now explanation in this, as well as a failure by contractor to comply with any other obligation under contract. Then if contractor considers that, I think this much English you are understanding, if contractor considers that work is attributable to any other cause, contractor shall promptly give a notice to engineer and to UAE master. If contractor considers that work is attributable to any other cause, contractor shall promptly give a notice to engineer, and an engineer shall process or shall proceed under subclause 37, and that's agreement or determination to agree or determine cause and for notice to engineer, and the engineer shall proceed under subclause 37. This is agreement or determination. Then it is actually saying differently. If contractor considers that work is attributed to any other cause, that contractor thoroughly shall promptly give a notice to engineer and yes, yes, engineer shall proceed under subclause 37 to agree or determine for purpose of subclause 373. Date of this notice shall be date of commencement of time limit for agreement under subclause 373. If it is agreed or determined that work is attributable to a cause other than those listed above, Allow variation by instruction shall apply as if such work such work had been instructed by engineer. Now, extension of defects notification period. This is very dynamic point here. We are increasing. Now, employers shall be entitled to an extension of DNP for works or section or a part. Defects notification period is extended. Okay, now we go to extension of defects notification period. Employers shall be entitled to an extension of defect notification DNB for works or a section of part, if and to extent if if and to extent that works, sections, part of a major item of plants shall, if work sections, part of major items of plant, as case may be, and after taking over, cannot be used for this intended purpose by reason of a defect or damage which is attributable to any of matters under subparagraph A to G of A to D of subclause 11 to cost of cost of remember the cost of cost of cost of remaining and should and subject to subclause 20.2 claims for and for payment of EOT. However, however, defects notification period shall not be extended by more than a period of 2 years. The time limit is there. Okay, defects notification period of 2 years. However, a defects notification period shall not be extended by more than a period of 2 years after expiry of the NP stated in contract details. If delivery and or erection of plant and or materials was suspended, okay, however, a DNP shall not be extended by more than a period of 2 years after expiry of DNP stated in contract data. If delivery and or execution of plant, erection of plants and or materials was suspended under certain under subclause 8.9, employers to suspension other than where this the cause of such suspension is reported reasonably responsibly responsibility of contractor in subclause 16.1. Suspension by contractor's obligation under clauses shall not apply to any defects or damages occurring more than 2 years after DNP for works, of which plant and or material from on part would otherwise have expired. Then failure to remedy defects. If remedying of any defect or demo or damage under subclause 11.1, if remedying of any defect or damage under subclause 11.1, completion of outstanding works and remedying defects is unduly delayed by contractor. A date may be fixed by for on behalf of employer on or by which the direct defect or defect or damage is to be remedied. Date may be fixed by on behalf of employer on or by which defects or damage is to be remedied. A notice of this fixed date shall be given to contractor by or on behalf of employer, which notice shall allow contractor reasonable time, taking due regard of all relevant circumstances to remedy great defect or damage. If contractor fails to remedy, if contractor fails to remedy defect is or damage by date stated in this notice, and this remedial work was to be executed. This remedial work was to be executed at cost of contractor under subclause 11.2. Cost of remedying defects. Employer may at employer's sole discretion a carry out the work or have work carried out by others, including any retesting, in a manner required under contract and at contractor's cost. But contractor shall have no responsibility for this work. Employer shall be entitled, subject to subclause 20.2, claims for payment and or extension of time to payment by contractor of costs reasonably incurred by employer in remedying remedying defect or damage. Now, next is B. Accept damaged or defective work. Accept damaged or defective work, in which case employer shall be entitled, subject to subclauses 20.2, that is claims for payment and UT to a of reduction in contract prices. Reduction shall be in full satisfaction of this failure only and shall be in, in amount as shall be appropriate to cover reduced value to employer as a result of this failure. Okay. Now, C. Require engineer to treat any part of works. Then it is hmm, require engineer to treat any part of works which cannot be used for its intended purpose or intended purpose under contract by reason of. All right, then we move further with some local understanding also. I'm going very slow because I have to also clearly understand this. It's different than last FIDIC, I think, much different than that. That's why I'm going through analytical understanding, not simply understanding or simply reading like a reader. No. Then again I read requires engineer to treat any part of works which cannot be used for intended purpose under contract by reason of this failure as an omission, as if such omission had been instructed under said clause 13.3.1 variation by test interest. 15 sorry D, this is terminals, this is terminate contract as a whole with immediate effect. Terminate contract as a whole with immediate effect. And subclause 16, 15b, terminate for contractors default shall not apply if defect or damage deprives employer of substantially whole benefit of works. If employer shall then be entitled subject to contractor at sums paid for works plus financing. Then it is, termination is talking about employer shall then be entitled subject to subclause 22 claims for payment and on EOT to recover from contractor all sums all sums paid for works. Okay, now we go further. Then mm, exercise of discretion by employer under supposed uh, okay, exercise of discretion by engineer under subparagraph C or D above shall be without prejudice to any other rights or employer may have under contract or otherwise. So it has actually by repeating is terminate the contract as a whole with immediate effect and subclause 15.2 termination for contractors default shall not apply if these defects or damages deprives employer to substantially the whole permit of yes. Defects or damage deprives employer of substantially whole benefits of works. Employer shall then inform. So we move forward, then is that employer shall then be entitled, subject to subclause this, for payment and AUT to recover from contractor all sums paid for works, plus financing charges and other costs incurred in dismantling same, cleaning and this. Now we'll go to remedying of defects work offsite. Defects work offsite. I think if you are getting something, this FIDIC, if you know, you can have opportunities in future in multinational. Remedying of defects work offsite. This is offsite. If during DNP, that's defects notification period, no charging object is left. No charge is left. Let me see. If during DNP, contractors considers that any defect or damage all right, now let's move forward on this defects work offset. During DNP, contractor considers that any defect or damage in any plant cannot be remedied expeditiously on site. Contractor shall give a notice with reasons to employer requesting. All right, just entering the site inside is happening. How we sometimes see vision of this is happening. Visionary means how could this clause handle the site if site is like that? Sometimes we have to think of that. It's not simply reading conditions without understanding. That's not required. Now, we say that the contact shall give a notice with reasons to employer requesting consent to remove these defective or damaged parts of site for purpose of repair. This notice shall be clearly identified. HID. So, what to do? Off-site for purpose of say, like all right. Hmm. So maybe you're thinking sit, I'm just sitting, not telling. No, it's not that. Defect or damage to be repaired. This is number one. In this offsites, I'm telling you, consent to remove defective or damaged plant off site for purpose of repairs. This one shall this notice shall clearly notice without plant of site for purpose of repairs. This notice shall clearly identify each item of defective or damaged plant and shall give the details of that, and that is defects or damage to be repaired, place to which defective or damaged plant is to be taken for repair. It may be workshop, it may be factory, it may be something else, and reflex. And so, what has actually been the fact of change to be repaired, we have submitted. Place to which we shall take is submitted. Transportation to be used is submitted. Insurance exercise area is submitted. Proposed inspecting and testing of site is submitted. And plant duration required before repair plant shall be returned to site. Now these are the points. These points plant duration required before before sweating too much here. Plant duration required for installation and testing of repair and testing by contractor and class 9 test on completion if applicable. Contractors shall provide any further details that employer may reasonably require. An employer gets now we go further than this the contractor shall also provide any detail further that is employer may reasonably require when employer gives consent, which consent shall not relieve contractor from any obligation or responsibility under clause. The contractor may remove from site, contractor may remove from site such items or plants as are defective or damaged as coronavirus. Now we go further, and that is another condition. 11.6 so further tests other remedying defects. That is further tests after remedying defects. Those defects are over change, you're taking care of defects, but testing, because we have to prove that this is defect free now. So further testing is a must. Within 7 days, of completion of work of remedying any defect or damage, 7 days. Contractor shall give a notice to engineer, right? Within 7 days of correcting the fact, contractor must give notice to engineer. Describing remedied work with damage remedied. This is sectionally remedied, and this is part of plant and proposed repeated tests we did under this clause 9 testing on completion within 7 days after receiving this notice. Engineer shall give a notice to contractors either. Now we issue this notice, then they respond on the notice, and that is agreeing with such proposed as testing number one, or instructing repeated tests that are necessary to demonstrate that remedied works section, part, and or plant comply with contract. So they can also ask for repeated tests. And then if contractor fails to give such a notice within 7 days, engineer may give a notice to contractor within 14 days after defect or direct. Hmm. So within 14 days after defects or damage is remedied, instructing repeated tests that are necessary to. Now we are very practical here. We have to see that in his 14 days after defects or damages remedied, instructing repeated tests that are necessary. Well, we have done it now. All repeated tests under such clause shall be carried out in accordance with terms applicable to previous tests, except that they shall be carried out at risk and cost of party party liable. Okay. Let me read this paragraph first, so that at least we comply with this. All repeated tests under this subclause shall be carried out in accordance with terms applicable to previous tests, except that they shall be carried out at risk and cost of party liable under subclause 11(2) for cost of remedial work. Now, rights of access, that's after taking over. After taking over, right of access shall be affected or not, we'll see. I think I have plenty of time here. Okay, let's see how it's gone. We'll continue, we'll not stop because this is contract and I want to explain as much as possible, because just you can remember something, you have to understand what we're talking of. And once you think this way, you'll understand various books of context together. Sometimes your estimation of 4, 5, and estimation doesn't mean anything if you don't reach final quantity. So quantity means management of works. The definition. Necessary as per surplus. If I can talk. The right of access after taking over until date 28 days after issuing a performance certificate means you have taken over a project means performance certificate is issued, right? Until date 28 days after issue of performance certificate, P certificate, contractors shall have right of access to works as is reasonably required in order to comply with clause, except as may be inconsistent with employers' reasonable security distributors. All right, then it says that under until 28 days after issue of performance certificate, contract shall have right to access to works as is reasonably required in order to comply with clauses, except as may be inconsistent with employers' reasonable reasonable security restrictions. Whenever contractor intends to access any part of works during relevant DNP, There are two clauses here given A that is and B that is and A is contractor shall request access by giving a notice to employer describing part of work to which an access to which we access this. Okay, now it's very contextual request access by giving notice to employer describing parts of work to be accessed, reasons for such access, and to contractor is preferred data for access. Notice shall be given or requires details, plans, details. Hmm? Or says okay, access reasons for such access and context what date of access. Notice which shall be given a stable time in advance of preferred date for access. Take into request regard of uh, uh, okay, we'll see the paragraph again. So again to see and see again and again. Otherwise you forget. It doesn't take much time to see again, it's a 1 minute only. And moreover, it's called study of content like that. You have to tolerate to study. Contractor shall request access by giving a notice to employer, describing parts of works to be accessed, reasons for such access, and contractor's preferred date of date for access. This notice shall be given in reasonable time in advance to advance or preferred date for access. Taking due precautionary upfront. Within 7 days after receiving contractor's notice, employer shall give a notice to contractors either stating the employer's consent to contractor request or alright, then we come to next one, that is 7 days as I said. We have to ask the next one and then stating employer's consent to contractor's request. It says notice to contract what it says. It says that starting employee starting employer's consent to contact the request or proposing yes. Each clause is very important from engineering point of view. Within 7 days after receiving contractor's notice, employer shall give a notice to contractor either starting employer's consent, starting all right. So what they say now, they agree with that. What I read is they agree with that. Yeah. All right. Now they say really. So what we do, if contractor incurs additional cost as a result of any unreasonable delay by employer in permitting access to works by its contractor, contractor shall be entitled, subject to HVAC rules and okay, then we have to see further now what to do with this. So if there's a delay simply saying from part of employer not to allow this, then they have to pay their composite down. Because we demanded that. We want to test it post reasonable alternative dates and we want to test in this. If they say okay fine and we say no we want more tests on this. What is incur additional cost as body of installation variable. So if contractors incurs additional cost as a result of any unreasonable delay by employer in permitting access to works by contractors, contractors shall be entitled, subject to subclause 22, claims for payment and or EOT. to, to payment of any other knowledge, any other such cost plus profit, the payment of any such cost or profit. Okay, and next is contractor to such. Contractor to such. Okay, contractor to such. Search. What search? Contractor shall. Contractor shall, if instructed by engineer, shall quote. Okay, so contractor shall, if instructed by engineer, search for cause of any defect under direction of engineer. Contractor shall carry out search on data on date stated in engineer's royal uh, search. Then next one is unless defect is to be remedied, unless defect is remedied at cost of contractors under clause subclause 11.2, and yes, and this means something very very serious is going to happen. Right? Yeah. Unless defect is to be remedied at cost of contractor under subclause 11.2, cost of revenue defects, contractor shall be entitled subject to clause 20.2 claims for payment and AI FI2 for contractors fails to carry out such in accordance with subclause. Such may be carried out by employer, personnel. Contractor shall be given a notice of date when such a search will be carried out and hmm, okay. So employer will search himself. If defect is primitive, Contract shall be given a notice to date when such a search shall be carried out, and contractor may attend this contractor's own cost if the fact is to be remedied at cost of contractor under subclause. Cost of remedying defects. Employer shall be entitled, subject to subclause 22, claims for sections, and there is sorry. Next, that performance certificate. This performance certificate is a very important one for contracts. See what it says: performance of contractors' obligations. Performance of contractors' obligation under contract shall not be considered to have been completed until engineer had issued performance certificate to contractor. Okay, let's start this performance. It's very important. Performance of contractors' obligations. When you see performance, I mean to say complete work. Performance of contractors' obligations under contract shall not be considered, to have been completed until engineer has issued performance certificate to contractor stating date on which contract fulfilled contractor's obligations under contract. This means performance means here something else means your all submissions are also over. That's what the performance about. If those submissions are not over, you cannot say performance is done. It's very important part. Performance is done. You can say in that case, performance is done means all your documents have been submitted, all your approvals have been over, dossiers are there, approvals are there, all conditions of contract that were supposed to be, that's required to be complied with, we have complied. All part of performance is so material submittal, drawing submittal, work and all documentation, everything, whatever is required to be done. If you have worked on continuously knowing that, if you have not done this something else, that's all performance means simply not work performance on site. Testing is also a part of performance, quality is a part of performance, safety is part of performance, planning is a part of performance, material procurement is a part of performance, and importing equipment or exporting input are also performance. So that place where your material is kept, how it was kept. So that's where performance counts. Means we cannot simply say I have performed. Performance is having backing of everything, and that's what performance is about. So what it asks for, that's the thing is performance of contractors' obligations under contract shall not be considered to have been completed until engineer has issued performance certificate to contractor stating date of which contractor fulfilled contractor's obligations under contract. As I say, it's not. It's, it's also yes, 70. 70 is in this case, this is engineer shall issue performance certificate to contractors with a copy to engineer employer. Engineer was exchange performance certificate. All right. So engineer shall issue performance certificate to contractors with a copy of employer with copy to employer and to DAAD within 28 days after the latest of expiry dates of defects notification period as soon as thereafter as contractor has supplied all contractor's documents. So it's there, all contractor's documents and completed and tested all works, including removing any defects in accordance with contract. If engineer fails to issue performance certificate within this period of 28 days, performance certificate shall be deemed to have been issued on date 28 days after date on which it should have been issued as required by sub clause. Only performance certificate shall be deemed to constitute acceptance of works. So performance certificate means very important certificate. We always measure work in terms of performance. And performance, when say I issued this performance report of many contracts when I dealt with certain disputes on some mechanical supplies contract. I have those copies of the certificates. I can't share them now because they are in hand. So we say is deemed fit, only performance certificate shall be deemed to constitute acceptance of works. Now, unfulfilled obligations is 11:10. This is to be understood what is unfulfilled obligation. Let's put this on too. It's hot. Let me see temperature now. It's difficult, I think. Sometimes you have temperatures here. Let me see what temperature now is. It's still 31. Actually more. I don't know why it's 31:45 daytime swing. Let's close this then. And now, yes, this is concerned. So unfulfilled obligations, काम नहीं किया छोड़ दिया मतलब यही हुआ, छोड़ के आ गए, क्यों आ गए, इस बात करनी पड़ेगी. After issue of performance certificate, each party shall remain liable for fulfillment of any obligations which remains unperformed at that time. for purposes of determining nature and extent of unperformed daily obligations. Contract shall be deemed to remain in force. Contract shall remain in force for purpose of determining nature and extent of unperformed obligations. Contract shall be deemed to remain in force. So, means this is not discharged. However, in relation to plant, contract shall not be liable for any defects or damage occurring more than 2 years after expiry of DNP for plant, except if prohibited by law or in any case of fraud, gross negligence, deliberate default, or reckless misconduct. Okay. So it says, however, in relation to plant, contractors shall not be liable for any defects or damage occurring more than 2 years after expiry of DNP. That is defects notification period for a plant except for a prohibited by law only on law case. Then 11:11 clearance of site. So we have to come out of site. This is called clearance of site, and clearance of site saying promptly after issue of performance certificate, contractor shall A. remove any remaining contractor's equipment. Remove any contractor's equipment, surplus materials, wreckage, rubbish, and temporary works from site. Reinstate all parts of site. Reinstate all parts of site which were affected under by Alright then, reinstate all parts of site which were affected by contractors' activities during execution of works and are not occupied by permanent works. So there are two requirements: remove any material and remove any remaining contractor's equipment, surplus material, wreckage, rubbish, and temporary works from site, and then reinstate all parts of site which were affected by contractors' activities during execution of works and are not occupied by permanent works. And then we go to next one, and that conditions is there. Leave site. Leave site and works in condition stated in specification, if not stated in a clean and safe condition. If contractor fails, if contractor fails to comply with subparagraphs A and B and C within 28 days after issue of performance certificate, employer may sell to extent permitted by applicable laws or otherwise dispose of any remaining items and or may reinstate and clean site as may be necessary at contractor's cost. If employer shall be entitled subject to subclause 20.2 claims for payment and or extension of time to payment by contractor of costs reasonably incurred in connection with or attributable to such sale of disposal and reinstating or clearing site less an amount equal to money from sale, if any. Next is measurement and valuation. 12.1. Now, we have so far gone through general procedures of contract management. Now is 12, which is measurement and valuation, and there will be different modes of further explanations of various items. These stages, you can say measurement and valuation, you can say is stage at every month or whenever there's a payment issue or bill issue or valuation issue. This is very regular and we have to follow certain set rules or certain methods or certain, yes, when it is measurement, is maybe for example this works to be measured, and then it is that method of measurement is that, valuation of works is that, and then these are specifically very technical, then variations and adjustments we have to do after that. So let us start post procedures, how this shall be affected, that is saying that measurements and valuation. This is section 12. Okay, measurement and valuation of started works to be measured at from one. Work shall be measured and valued for payment in accordance with this clause. Now we are concerned with payments because measurement has been done. Whenever whenever engineer requires any part of works to be measured on site, shall give a notice to contractor if not less than 7 days of part to be measured and date on which place on site at which measurement will be made unless otherwise agreed upon with contractor. Measurement on site shall be made on this date, and contractor's representative shall either attend or send another qualified representative to assist engineer and to endeavor to reach agreement of measurement, and then we supply any particular requested by particles requested by engineer. Then supply any particulars required by engineer. There are two conditions. A. Either attend or send another qualified representative to assist engineer on to endeavor to reach agreement of measurement, and B. Supply and particulars requests by engineer. And if contractor fails to attend or send a representative at time and place is stated in agent's notice or otherwise agreed with contractor, measurement made by on behalf engineer shall be deemed to have been made in contractor's presence, and the contractor shall be deemed to have accepted measurement as accurate. Now, any part of permanent works that is to be measured from records shall be identified on identifying specification, and except as otherwise stated, whenever engineer has prepared, let's say, any part of permanent works that is to be measured from record shall be identified in specification except as otherwise stated in contract. Such record shall be prepared by engineer. Whenever engineer has prepared records for such a part, shall give a notice to contractor of not less than 7 days, stating the data on which and place at which contractor's representative shall attend or to examine Whenever engineer has prepared records for such a part, engineer shall give a notice to contractor of not less than 7 days, stating date on which and place at which contractor's representative shall attempt to examine and agree records with engineer if a contractor fails to attend or send a representative at time and place stated in engineer's notice or otherwise agreed with contractor. Contractor shall be deemed to have accepted records of accurate records as accurate. So many, oh my god, here disappear. Yeah, say engineer and contractor are unable to agree. If engineer and contractor are unable to agree measurement. Contractor shall give a notice to engineer setting out reasons why contractor considers a measurement on site or records are inaccurate. If contractor does not give any such notice to engineer within 14 days after attending measurements on site or examining measurements records, contractor shall be deemed contractor shall be deemed to have accepted measurement as accurate. Now, after receiving a contractor's notice under subclause, unless at that time such measurement is already subject to last paragraph of subclause 13.3.1, variation by instruction, engineer shall proceed under subclause 3.7, agreement or determination to agree or determine measurement, and for purpose of subclause 373, time limits, date on which engineer receives contractor's notice shall be date of commencement of time limit for agreement under subclause 373. Now, until each time, until such time as the measurement is agreed or determined, engineer shall assess a provisional measurement for purpose of interim payment certificate. Now, 12.2, method of measurement. Method of measurement. This is technique now. So far, it was agreement or no agreement on your quantities. The quantification now it's a procedure. What you have to follow, how to measure, what's your agreed procedure, then this evaluation of that. Method of measure shall be as stated in contract data. Means there's a procedure, the method units are given, which item is back tests are given there, means for the method of measurements shall be as stated in contract data, or if not so stated, then that which shall be in accordance with bill of quantities or other applicable schedules. Bill of quantity or other applicable schedules. Except as otherwise stated in contract, measurement shall be made of net actual quantity of each item. Net actual quantity of each item of permanent works. And no allowance shall be made for bulking, shrinkage, or waste. Valuation of works. Valuation of works. This is, what is valuation? Valuation of works, not property. I'm talking of works. Which we do valuation field, that's for property, existing property. There is no existing property, here's a created property, and that's what. Recently created property under this contract, that's also valuation. Valuation of what done. And other valuation is different one, which is submitted in departments for purpose of that. except as otherwise stated in contract. Agent shall value each item of work by applying measurement agreed or determined in accordance with subclause 12.1, work to be measured, and 12.2, method of measurement, and appropriate rate of price for item. For each item of work, for each item of work, appropriate rate or price. mm, For each item of work, appropriate rate or price for item shall be rate or price specified for such item in bill of quantities or other schedule, or if there is no such an item specified for similar work. Any item of work which is identified in bill of quantities. Okay. Any item of work which is identified in bill of quantities or other schedule, but for which no rate or price is specified, shall be deemed to be included in other rates and price in bill of quantities or other schedules. A new rate of price shall be appropriate for an item of work if item is not identified in and no rate or price for that item is specified in bill of quantities or other schedule and no specified rate or price is appropriate because item of work is not of similar character or is not executed under or then any new rate price, any new indicated in or no rate of price for this item specified in booking. So we will take it and not similar characters not excluded. What says that any item is not identified in a no rate price for this item specified in block quantities or other scales will no specified rate of price is appropriate because item is not similar characters not excluded under similar conditions as an item in quantity measured quantity of is a quantity of items changed by more than 10% from quantity of this item in the quantity of other scales. So this change in quantity multiplied by rate of price specified in the quantities or other schedules. He'll continue further thinking, and thinking still not solving problems. So what it says is not executed under similar conditions. What it says, measured quantity of items changed by more than 10% from quantity of this side item in the bill of quantity or other schedule. This change in quantity multiplied by rate or price specified in the quantity or other schedule for this item exceeds 0.01% of accepted contract amount. Now, this change in quantity directly changes cost per unit quantity of this item by more than. Let me repeat this because a new rate of price shall be appropriate for an item work if. Now this is about new rate and why this is saying it. Item is not identified because item is not identified in and no rate is available or price is available for this item to use and in specified bills of quantity or other elsewhere, so it's not available. No specified rate or price is approved appropriate because this item work is not of similar nature or character executed under similar conditions as part of any form to this contract. So is it that measured quantity of item is changed by more than 10%. Measured quantity of item is changed by more than 10%. And so what we do then, what we do, measure quantity of this item is changed by more than 10% from quantity this item in bills of quantity or other schedule. Change in quantity multiplied by rate of price specified in the quantity or other schedule for this item exceeds the 0.01% of accepted contract amount. This change in quantity directly changes cost per unit quantity of this item by more than 1%. This item is not specified in bills of quantities or other schedule as a fixed rate item, fixed charge or similar item referring to a rate of price which is not subject to any adjustment or for any change in quantity and or or quantity. Okay, now we'll move on. Work is instructed in clause 13 variation adjustment and subparagraph blah, blah, blah. So items not specified in the points other schedules as a fixed item, fixed rate, some fixed charge, similar term, referring to a rate or price which is not subject to adjustment for any change in quantity and or work is instructed under clause 13 variation and adjustments and sub paragraphs A or B above applies. For each new item rate or price shall be derived from any relevant rates or prices specified in the bill of quantities or other schedule with reasonable adjustment to take account of matters described in subparagraph A, B, and C as applicable. If no specified rate or prices are relevant for a derivation of new rate of price shall be derived from a reasonable cost of exacting So let's move further. It says work is instructed under clause 13 variation adjustments and supplement. Each new rate so shall be derived from okay, leave it. What I said now says each new rate or price shall be derived from any relevant rates or prices specified in bill of quantities or other schedule with reasonable adjustments to take account of matters described in subparagraphs A, B, and C as applicable. If no specified rates or prices are relevant for derivation of a new rate or price, it shall be derived from reasonable cost of executing work together with applicable percentage for or profit stated in contract data. If not stated, 5% taking account of taking account of any other relevant matters. So it says if no specified rates or prices are relevant for derivation of a new rate or prices, it shall be derived from reasonable cost, reasonable costs of executing work together with applicable percentage of profit stated in contract data. If not stated, 5% taking account of any other relevant matters. Let's see, 5%. So how the 5% leave, but 5 is not come on further. If for any item of work, very complicated down. If for any item of work, an engineer, if for any item of work, engineer and contractor are unable to agree appropriate rate of price, then contractor shall give a notice to engineer setting out reasons why contractor disagrees. After receiving a contractor's notice under this clause, unless at that time such rate or price is already subject to last paragraph of last paragraph or subclause 13.3.1 variation by instruction engineer shall proceed under subclause 3.7 agreement or determination to agree or determine appropriate rate or price and right. Let's start this now. So agreement or determination to agree to determine the quoted prices. So the contractor notice shall be date of commencement for purposes of cross timing. Date on which it receives contract's notice shall be date of commencement of timing to agreeing under clause 373. until such time as an appropriate rate of price is agreed or determined. The engineer shall assess a provisional rate or price for purposes of interim payment certificate. Later on we'll discuss now. Omission. Talking omissions now. Meaning of omission, delete, this means deletion from contract, that's called omission. So whenever omission of any work from part of all of a variation. Omission is there now. So omission means, I told you, omission and value on which rate has value which has not otherwise being agreed, contractor will incur or has incurred cost which if work has not been omitted would would have been deemed to be covered by by a sum forming part of accepted contract amount. Sorry. Omission of work will result for Omission of work will result in sum not forming part of contract price. I'm sorry. For omission of work will result for or has resulted in this sum not forming part of contract price, or this cost is not deemed to be included in valuation of any substituted work. So what omission says that value of which has not otherwise been agreed. This is whenever omission of any work forms part of all of a variation. Number one, number A is value of which value of which has not otherwise been agreed, or contract will incur or has incurred costs which if work had not been omitted would have been deemed to be covered by some forming part of accepted contract amount. Omission of work will result in this sum not forming part of contract price, or this cost is not deemed to be included in valuation of any substitute work. Then contractor shall, in contractor's proposal, so after that, say omission we understand, then contract shall in contractor's proposal under subparagraph C of subclause 33(1) variation by instruction give details to engineer according to details supporting portfolio. Variations and adjustments. Variations and adjustments. 13(1) right to vary. Right to vary. Variations may be initiated by engineer under subclause 13(3). Variation procedure at any time before issue of taking over certificate for works. Hmm? It's not fully charged yet. Variation may be initiated by engineer under subclause 33. Variation procedure at any time before issue of taking over certificate for works. No, it is other than as stated under subclause 11(4), failure to remedy effects. A variation shall not comprise shall not comprise omission of any work other than stated under subclause 11.4. Failure to remedy defects. A variation shall not comprise omission of any work which is to be carried out by employer or by others unless otherwise agreed by parties. Contract shall be bound Contract shall be bound by each variation Contract shall bound each variation instructed under subclause 13.3.1 variation by instruction and shall execute variation with due expedition and without delay. Unless contractor promptly gives a notice to engineer stating with detailed supporting particulars that a varied work was unforeseeable, having regard to scope and nature of works described in specifications. Contractor cannot really contractor cannot really sorry readily contractor cannot readily obtain goods required for variation. Contractor cannot readily obtain goods required for variations. It will adversely affect contractor's ability to comply with. Okay. Hmm. Varied work was unforeseeable. Number one, having regard to scope and nature of works described in specification. Contractor cannot readily obtain goods required for variation. It will adversely affect contractor's ability to comply with subclause 4.8 health and safety obligations and or subclause 4.18 protection of environment. Each variation may include now what is to be included in that. Each variation may include changes to quantities of any item of work. Changes to quantities of any item of work included in contract. However, such changes do not necessarily constitute a variation. Changes to quality and other characteristics of any item of work or works. Changes to labels, positions, and dimensions of any parts of works. Hmm. So let us say what it says that again each variation may include one changes to quantities of any item of work included in contract. However, such changes do not necessarily mean valid constitutive variation. Changes to quality and other characters of any item of work, changes to labels, positions, and dimensions of any part of work, omission of any work unless